Hello everyone, it's Seraldo here. Today I'm going to be giving you a review of the Pyromancer class. I was going to do a Darkcaster video next, but I've actually found myself with a bit more time and the Pyromancer class itself. So that Darkcaster class review video is still coming, but for the moment, enjoy this on the Pyromancer class. The first thing you need to know about this class is how to go about obtaining it. Now, it's essentially a reward at the end of the Zaan saga, which is a 3-part saga, and it's not all that hard to complete. Once you've finished, you come to the Zaan cave, which is also the map of the last part of the saga. You talk to Warlick, and you do his quests. Become a pyromancer. You can either do quests to earn it for some tokens, or you can buy it for adventure coins. Now, if you want to go the token way, you need 84 tokens, which I've done. The reason I'm still saving up is because I want Zaan's flaming skull, which is pretty cool looking. So yeah, so either you buy it for adventure coins or you earn tokens. Now, there's two different quests for tokens. There is the non-member version, which gives you 2 tokens, and the member version, which gives you 3, and both are a daily, so you can only do them once, and you can only do one of them once. So yeah, it takes about 6 weeks to get them as a non-member and 4 weeks to get them as a member. Now that you have your Pyromancer class, you're going to want to know how to best enhancement. I'd suggest, seeing as the class is entirely magical with its moves, you're going to want to go for a set of enhancements that are heavily wizard from this trainer over here. The alternative to that might be a bit of luck, just to increase crit. Other than that, Wizard will see you through well. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is that the class does have a few passives. It increases your damage output, the amount of damage you do to enemies, by 10%, and it decreases the amount of damage you take by 10%, so it's nice contrasting there. The other thing to be aware of is that it does have a rank 10 passive. Now, I can't show you this because A, I don't have the class to rank 10 yet, and B, rank 10 passives don't actually happen all that often, so it's not something you can rely on in combat. It's just a nice little boost, and luckily I know what it is, so I can tell you. It's called Burn at Both Ends. It occasionally will activate, increasing your haste and your mana regeneration for a short time. Now, increasing haste will regenerate your mana, seeing as you regenerate on each hit, but increasing the mana regen itself is good. That's basically a huge increase. You get extra MP every time you hit, and you hit more often. Okay, so before I test out any of the moves, I'm just going to say that my current weapon, I'm only using it because it's got a stable damage range, so it gives you guys a fair representation of what the class is actually capable of, and you don't see any unrealistic low strikes, and at the same time you won't see any of those really high strikes. Now, the first move that the class has to offer is Sear. It's a magical attack for 10 mana with a 6 seconds cooldown, so it can be used relatively often. It has its own unique animation, and it applies a light damage over time. Well, a fair damage over time. Now, Scorch is a vital move for the class, as it actually empowers the other 3 moves, and it makes them do a fair amount of more damage. Now, I'm not even going to bother showing you what it is like without Scorch. Just remember to always use it. It doesn't stack, it lasts a while, so it shouldn't actually be a problem. So here we go. The second move, Withering Blast, 20 MP, 12 second cooldown, it's magical, and it is an area of effect attack, so it attacks a lot of enemies and also causes a damage over time as well. So just to demonstrate this move now, here we go. There we go, and there we go. Second damage over time, so it's quite good. The third move is called Burning Ward, and that's a fair mana cost of 35. It's 20 second cooldown, so it does take a while to recharge. It reduces incoming damage, and when you've got Scorch on, it's quite a significant reduction. But it also heals you. Now, depending on whether you crit or not, it's a fair amount. Now, if you look at this closely, you might notice that every time it hits me, it takes a bit of damage in damage over time. This is to make sure that any damage is a guaranteed crit. It's really useful. And later on in the video I actually show you. See, look, you might see two, they overlap. Later on in the video I actually show you how well it's used. So the heal isn't terribly great, but it's still good, and the reduction on damage and the extra damage it does is really quite helpful. Now the final move to top it all off is just that large amount of damage. So I'll just demonstrate that now. It's called Flame Orb. It's 30 mana, which is less expensive than the move before it. It's got a 40-second cooldown, so it's something that you generally use in boss battles or at the start of a farming battle to make it quick. It's high damage. It also causes its own damage over time effect, which is helpful. I'll just wait for it to recharge. And as I've said, it is increased by Scorch, so you don't really want to be using it without Scorch. Since Seer is, as I've said, a low mana cost, it just makes sense to use it. There we go. So you'll be hitting around near 2,000 and critting upwards of that. So yeah, the skill set is pretty good. Now, before I continue, I just want to give a bit more information on Burning Ward. As I said, it reflects damage as, well, what's shown as a damage over time, but it's just a reflected damage. Now, there is a cap to how much damage can be reflected from any one strike, and that cap is 1,000. However, according to the design notes, that is what is referred to as a soft cap, meaning that if the person crits, you'll reflect 2,000 damage. Now, I just wanted to show you what sort of damage can be reflected back by attacking this boss. I've got no intention of defeating it, but it'll give you a reasonable idea of how much damage you can expect to reflect when you're actually got Scorch already affected on him. So here we go. There we go. We're dodging, great. There we go, reflecting back 185, 164. If he crits, you'll be reflecting back 300, so it's a good move, and that'll come into play in PvP when you've got people critting you for 1,000, 2,000. Now for the PvP breakdown. I would give a demonstration, however with the lag at this point in time, it's just not practical. We'd just wait for them to finish their tests with the current PTR server. But for PvP, you'll want to start off with all matches by applying Scorch through use of the Moveset. Once you do that, all your other moves are empowered. The first thing you want to do, especially if you come across high-hitting classes like Vindicator or they, is activate your Burning Ward. That'll heal you for a bit of damage that you most likely would have taken by that point in the battle. And that'll reflect any damage they do back at them, so that's a good thing, as well as keeping you alive for longer. And then you'll want to Flame Orb them, because that just gives high damage and causes a damage over time. Following that, you've got more Scorch and you've got your Withering Blast. Between these three damage over times and the reflected damage, you should be more than a match for most things out there, especially those high-hitting classes that will really be a thorn in their side in PvP. So to finish with, Pyromancer is a good class. Between the damage output from its final move and the 3 damage over times from the final move and the last 2 moves, it does dish out quite a bit of damage. The middle move, the third move gives a fair heal, reduces damage, and reflects damage back. So between the damage over times and that, it does a lot of damage to your opponents. In PvP, it's probably one of the only classes that can withstand some of the newer, more overpowered classes like Vindicator of they. So be sure to use it well. Just make sure you always apply Scorch. And one final thing before I do go, I will be doing that Darkcaster video as soon as I can after Darkcaster comes out. But there may actually be more videos in between, seeing as we don't really know when it's coming out. That's all for now, and I'll see you next time. Please subscribe or like the video if you liked it or wish to subscribe. Thank you.